like to call the August 27th, Thursday evening, Wilton Board of Education regular meeting to order. Did everyone have a chance to review the agenda? All the board members?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thanks, Mandy, and Glenn, I'll take that as a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Comments from the public. Like I do at all meetings, I just want to remind everyone that the Board of Ed listens to public comment, but does not engage directly. We try to follow up when it's appropriate. Also, judging by some of the number of messages I saw today, we need to remember that we have about a 15-minute limit to each topic and about a 2-minute limit to each speaker, which obviously will be read by Lucille. So we just do that so we can also get on to the agenda items. And there is time for public comment at the end. So depending on how it goes, I may push some of them to the end of the meeting. All right, so having said all that, Lucille, do we have public comment?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Okay, the first comment is public comment, Jennifer Bell, 39 Cider Mill Place. The reality is there are inconsistent and conflicting policies across the state and even in our town when it comes to sports, as demonstrated by the private sector of volleyball versus the schools and the CIAC. Our girls will be playing volleyball this fall, whether at school or in private volleyball clubs offered even here in Wilton. It will be safer to have our girls playing volleyball in their high school cohort. The sport of volleyball has been playing safely indoors for 2 months with proper mitigation strategies and no confirmed COVID cases. Please allow our girls their fall season. The next comment is from Robin Allen, 36 Cobblestone Place. Please consider the following comment regarding the WHS girls volleyball team. It is a follow-on to the comment from Jennifer Bell of WHS Volleyball Boosters. I am confused by the discussion regarding volleyball as a sport that is less safe than other fall sports. Please consider that 1, volleyball requires a significantly smaller number of girls, 6, to be on a court during a match than other sports such as soccer and field hockey. Both soccer and field hockey require nearly double the amount of players to be on the field during the game. 2, it is easier to socially distance in volleyball as the players remain on their own side of the court and do not come onto the other team's side. In contrast, soccer and field hockey require primarily one-on-one contests with opposing players and very close to each other. My point is that volleyball should not be singled out simply because it is an indoor sport. It is theoretically not a higher risk. In fact, Hartford Healthcare's website lists volleyball as the same risk level as both soccer and field hockey. I believe that it would be incredibly difficult for the girls' volleyball team to have to sit out the season while other sports are allowed to proceed. I would rather the board cancel all or move ahead with all, but I do not support singling out volleyball simply because it is played indoors. Thank you for your consideration. The next public comment is from Matthew Golden, 198 Chestnut Hill Road. To whom it may concern, on behalf of all of the players in the Wilton High School football program, we would like to urge the Board of Education to please allow us to play the sport we love. It would be detrimental to our players' lives if football was canceled. Personally, football has a significant impact on all of our lives. We have made dozens of lifelong friends that we consider family. We have had the opportunity to work with coaches that have served as role models for all of the young men participating in the program. Through football, we have come to understand the meaning of hard work, teamwork, and striving for something bigger than ourselves. As seniors, most of us have been playing this sport together since 3rd grade and have been looking forward to our senior year for as long as we can remember. The idea that we may not be able to reach the culmination of our years of hard work is devastating. We understand that these are difficult times and there is risk involved, but the reality is there is risk involved in just about every activity these days. We believe that over the course of the last several weeks, we have proven that we can participate in football in a responsible manner. We will do everything in our power to protect ourselves, our teammates, classmates, and the larger Wilton community. Before you make any decisions, please consider the consequences that the elimination of our season will have on so many Wilton High School students. Thank you. Sincerely, Matthew Golbin, Brian Cipri, Michael Coffey, Keel Polino, 2020 varsity football captains. The next comment is from, Brian McGovern, MD. This is, to whom it may concern, I would like to lend my support to the Wilton Warrior Gridiron Club and Coach D'Annunzio and his staff of the Wilton High School football program to move forward with tackle football this fall. I am an emergency physician at Norwalk Hospital. I have witnessed the COVID epidemic very differently and more intimately than most. It has to be taken very seriously. I have watched the Wilton High School administrative staff cautiously move forward with a reopening school in quite a dynamic fashion, willing to change course on a daily basis as different issues arise. I applaud their optimism in their approach. I am the father of 5 sons, all Wilton High School athletes. 4 of them have gone on to become college scholar athletes. The 5th is going to be a freshman at Wilton High School this year. He will be playing football. He has been participating in the summer conditioning program offered by Coach D'Annunzio. The rules put in place by the football program this summer to limit the spread of coronavirus have been well planned and strictly implemented. I coached the Wilton High School wrestling team as the assistant coach from 2016 to 2018. I've worked very closely with Chris McDougall, athletic director, and Lynn Prescott, administrative assistant, and know how organized and prepared they are in dealing with all issues that arise surrounding a sports season. Student athletes' health is of paramount importance. My sons participated in multiple lacrosse games and tournaments this summer without any spike in coronavirus cases. I think Wilton football can cautiously move forward with the season as other towns plan to do, abiding by FCEC and CIAC rules. In the cost-benefit analysis of moving ahead with football, I truly believe there is a great benefit to remaining optimistic and maintaining the course. I hope the Board of Education and the Wilton High School administration and athletic department will support the decision to move forward with football. Please get back to me with any questions. Sincerely, Brian McGovern, MD. The next was sent in and asked to be read. It was sent in, I'm sorry, I didn't print the full email, but it was a letter sent to Glenn Longarini, Executive Director of CIAC. And I can quote my email, but they asked that I read this letter. Dear Mr. Longarini and members of the CIAC Board of Control, we are writing to urge you to move forward with the plan for Connecticut High School fall sports that was announced on July 31st and to discourage you from changing that decision based on the Connecticut Department of Public Health statement issued on August 13th. We, the parents of Wilton High School varsity football captains, understand that you are in an extremely difficult situation where there is no definitive right or wrong answer. And we appreciate the time, energy, concern, and effort you have put forth for Connecticut student athletes, especially during the last 5 months. As you contemplate this latest development, we encourage you to consider the following. The current situation is potentially more harmful than the virus. The uncertainty around the situation and the constant back and forth nature in which these decisions have been made and communicated may, in fact, be more likely to harm these student athletes than the coronavirus. It is more important for you to understand the extreme stress and anxiety that these teenagers have been experiencing throughout the pandemic and especially during the last couple of weeks. Relief on July 31st that their season was likely to happen, followed by anxiety when rumors began to circulate last weekend that the CIAC was going to cancel all fall sports. Then dismay and resolve when the football committee voted to postpone the season, followed almost immediately by euphoric surprise when the Board of Control voted to move forward with the fall season. Just when the emotions began to settle, news came of the health department recommendation and now another postponement. What a roller coaster. That is a lot of emotional upheaval for anyone, but it's almost unbearable if you are a 15 to 18-year-old already struggling to come to terms with social isolation and an upcoming return to school that will not even closely resemble what they have known in the past. In addition, many of them are rising seniors who have college application deadlines looming on the horizon and haven't been able to sit for standardized tests or visit the colleges they're considering. Connecticut is the place to play. If there's a state in the country where it should be considered safe to try to play football, It's Connecticut. Our numbers have been good for months. Other sports have played successfully without consequence. Since June, Connecticut athletes have participated in youth sports, AAU basketball, lacrosse tournaments in and out of state, summer league baseball, and other sports without a negative effect on Connecticut's data. How is it safe for basketball players to play indoors in facilities that have games?
Lucille, excuse me, I just need to interrupt. We've gone way beyond the 2-minute mark on that. Could you spend another 30 seconds? Thank you.
Okay.
On that one, I'm sorry.
Okay, and the two other comments, the two other paragraphs are they're safer on the field than in many other places. Playing in the spring is not the answer. Sincerely, the Wilton High School varsity football captain's parents. Lisa and Rich Cipri, Marla and Chris Coffey, Joanne and Jeff Golden, Christine and Joe Polito.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next comment is from Dan Falta. Dear Chairman, Debbie Lowe, and the rest of the Board of Education, Superintendent Smith, and all the principals and leadership of Wilton Schools. I am a 20-year resident of Wilton, owner of 2 homes here, an elected official for the town BOAA Board of Assessment Appeal, the parent of a two-sport 2021 athlete, a parent in a higher COVID-19 age risk level, 55, and a person who testified in Hartford on March 1st, 2019, against school regionalization. My comments are broken into what I believe are 2 topics. The 2 topics are for the August 27th meeting. Comments on extracurricular activities, including performing arts and sports. Comments on student behavior as pertains to COVID protocols and penalties. So Debbie, this letter is very lengthy. Do you want me to give you just the subjects that he covers? Okay, you're on mute.
Hey, Debbie, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I gave a great answer to that question. No, I'm sorry, I didn't. How about if, I think the gentleman said there were 2 topics. How about if we give 2 minutes on the first one, and then perhaps we save the second topic for later in the meeting?
Okay. So his first topic that he covers are comments on extracurricular activities, performing arts and sports. I believe the factual evidence is overwhelming that Wilton should be allowing all of our youth to partake in extracurricular activities, performing arts, sports, etc. Attached is a 7-page document that I have worked on since I heard about the Connecticut Department of Health's August 13th letter to the CIAC board that had voted in favor 17-0 of playing fall football. The Connecticut DOH recommended against fall football for the state. I completed the documents on Sunday night and have sent them to the CIAC's board, Mr. Smith, Mr. O'Donnell, and Mr. McDougall. So I'll summarize. He documents very important points, the Department of Health information on the National Federation of State High School Associations, facts, the United States Olympic and Paralympic Sports Medicine Committee, and he sums up that after he states a bunch of facts. He encourages and asks every member of the Board of Education and Mr. Smith and Mr. O'Donnell and Mr. McDougall to read the document carefully and to do their own detailed fact-based homework on the issue. The next topic that he wanted to cover were comments on behavior tied to not social distancing. A broad rush of canceling all sports or canceling all performing arts should never be used in response to the poor behavior of a subset of students. This is wrong. It penalizes students who have done nothing wrong. I agree with the school establishing penalties for proven misbehavior as it pertains to protocols necessary to protect each other. For example, any student caught violating should have to partake in school from home for 2 weeks. So a group of students is seen in such a situation, that should be the mandated result. Wilton High School needs to have a firm policy communicated clearly to all students and parents, and only the individuals that violate protocols should get in trouble. We'll perhaps have an escalating scale of punishments. Punishment at worst is simply having to learn remotely. Never should the opportunity to continue with school be taken away. The message is from Dan Falter, 20 Cheese Spring Road. Do you want a couple of more regarding sports? Oops. Okay, I couldn't hear.
Yep, sorry, I think you're muted again, Debbie.
I apologize. Yes, let's see if there are just a couple more on sports. Yep. Will that finish that topic then?
That will.
Okay, so let's move through that. Absolutely.
Okay, public comment, Jeff Farrar, 90 Scarlet Oak Drive, Wilton. While I understand the complexities involved the school system has to deal with, I would also add my voice to not manage from a place of fear. Do not manage based on Facebook posts. Do not deny the opportunity for our children to lead healthy, full lives because someone is uncomfortable. If parents are, their children can stay 100% remote. Their children do not have to play sports. Listen to the teachers' concerns, but they are your employees and they are no different than all the other honorable professions working today and deserve no special exclusions. Governor Lamont said to do in-person schooling if the situation is where it is today, yet you have gone against his advice with the hybrid plan for 3 weeks, but I see nothing moving you closer to making that happen. You are going the opposite directions. Your excuses of we are not ready with PPE materials, signage, or teachers are stressed, haven't learned schoology yet are a failure of management. That should not be acceptable to the BOE or the town at large. In conclusion, risks exist in all our lives. Manage them, lead, and stop making excuses. And the next is from the Gridiron Club Board of Directors. We are writing on behalf of the Wilton Warrior Gridiron Club Board of Directors. Our 501c3 organization acts as Wilton High School's football booster program. We are writing to follow up on our letter dated August 17th that was sent to leadership of the CIC, Dr. Smith, Athletic Director Chris McDougall, Wilton High School Principal O'Donnell, First Selectman Lynn Vanderslice, and Director of Health Barry Vogel. This letter was published for the Wilton community in Good Morning Wilton on August 18, 2020, and laid out the facts as to why we support a fall high school football season for Wilton. Out of respect for everyone's time, we will not rescind our letter to be read this evening. Interested parties may view the previous letter on our website, WiltonWarriorGridironClub.com. With that said, we would like to stress our support of the CIC's updated recommendation, which as of today, August 27, 2020, recommends Connecticut high schools move forward with fall sports, including football. And then the letter again is lengthy and it goes on to note all CIC's recommendations. So.
Okay. Are there any other ones that identified their subjects as sports?
No, there are not.
Okay. And is there another topic?
I have.
I know we're gonna be discussing policy. Are there any public comments on policy?
Yes, there are.
All right. Let's see if we can do those.
Okay, I have 3 on that on policy.
Okay, let's see. Go ahead.
Lindley Middleburg, 230 Rivergate Drive. Regarding the proposed changes to policy 6141.321 detailing responsible use, specifically the policy revision outlined that no one but the student should be observing live instruction in order to prevent anyone else from interfering with instruction. It specifies that only a student should be visible on Zoom when learning remotely and no family members should be listening in. How does anyone expect this to be possible with our K-5 students? During remote learning, our kids are either home without teachers or paying to attend a proctored program during the day. Neither parents or any supervising adult can be expected to help if you don't know what they're being taught, and unless parents receive notification otherwise, these kids are expected to comprehend the lessons on the live instruction and proceed the self-guided learning, example worksheets, etc. The BOE is adopting sweeping policy decisions for an entire district rather than at the very least considering 2 options for the K-5 set and the 6-12 set. My almost 6-year-old first grader should not be expected to be alone in a room in my house or any other venue with a computer, learning to read, write, or anything else without an adult able to listen in and not only keep her on task from a distance, obviously, or help if needed. It is simply not the same as when they attend in-person school without parental supervision. The Miller Driscoll administration and teachers have been nothing short of excellent and are doing everything they can. These recommended changes seem to undermine the work that these professionals are doing to help Wilton's youngest learners. The next comment is from Anna Williams and Jerry Griffin. Dear Dr. Smith and the board, my daughter joins Miller Driscoll Kindergarten next week. As we all know, this has been an incredibly trying time for all involved. To date, I have simply going with the flow when it comes to school and waiting for the information as it becomes available. I appreciate how hard all our teachers and staff are working in an impossible situation. And to that end, I would like to say how much I appreciate their care and attention working through this very difficult time. However, today's policy call out on Good Morning Wilton needs to be addressed immediately, specifically that no one but the student can be present during online classes. While I understand that teachers cannot handle additional family members disrupting class, the idea that a five-year-old without adequate technology or reading skills approaching the start of their school life should be left alone in a room to manage their online education is absolutely absurd. Not to mention, with parents already carving out space to work from home, the idea that every family has the space to separate out children from parents in their own environment during school hours is unreasonable. I would like to recommend an update to the policies to maintain that only the student appears on camera, siblings cannot attend class, parents/caregivers should not be actively involved or taking photos, videos without express teacher permission, but that a learning supervisor should be readily available to support our youngest learners. Understanding that as school progresses on the online days, students will become more comfortable with the software, which by all accounts, even adults are struggling with right now. They will become more independent, but in the foreseeable future, where possible, children have the support of someone in their home during their class time. And the next one regarding policy is from Kate Baldwin. In response to the proposed policy change regarding live instruction via Zoom and distance learning. Distance learning in the spring was brought together in the midst of a crisis. What made distance learning successful for Wilton's youngest learners was the collaboration between teachers, administrators, and parents. The superintendent and Board of Education continue to ask parents to be flexible and pivot, but asking parents to abandon their young children on the first day of distance learning on a new platform and/or in a new school is to say children's mental well-being is negligible. The Board of Education keeps attempting to make whole district policy changes when the needs of the children based on age greatly vary. Each age group has its own needs. They are not the same. Listed as an objective for the vision for Wilton Public Schools is the district adopts a personalized student-centered approach to teaching and learning. How does creating a policy without taking into consideration the needs of different age groups help to accomplish that objective? Kate Baldwin.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
There is a place for public comment at the end of the meeting, and so if there are any other public comments, let's hear them then. All right. Thank you. Let's move on to the consent agenda. I see the consent agenda, and I would just, there's a typo there. The executive session date is not August 20, but August 25th. And so if we make that correction and the minutes are correct on the board docs section, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thanks, Ruth. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. I think Glenn came in first. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right. Thank you. All right. Agenda tonight. First item, review and discuss an update on our reopening. Dr. Smith.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Hopefully we can get through this meeting without losing power. So the
Yes.
flickering behind me here. So a number of updates. We're going to go through in just a moment an update on ventilation and facilities. So we have Chris Burney and Jose Figueroa with us. I asked Maria Coleman to provide an update on childcare. I have Eric Hawkinson and Fran Kompar who are going to do a brief update on the just technology work that's been underway. And then I'm going to ask each of our principals to take a minute or two just to give the board an assessment of where the staff is in terms of their planning and preparation this week. But before we get into that, I did want to share, we have some bad news and good news coming out of Middlebrook School that I wanted to start this portion of the agenda with. As you know, Lauren Feltz stepped down to take an elementary principal position in a district up the coast. Mr. Brian Fagan, who's here with us tonight, stepped in to serve as interim principal while we got the school up and running. And then that would also enable us, his presence would enable us to conduct a search later in the school year for a permanent principal. Unfortunately, Brian informed me that as a result of an unavoidable personal situation, which is not health related, he has to withdraw from this role. So I'm very sorry to share that news with the board and with the community, but I do want to take the opportunity to thank Brian for the time that he was able to give in supporting our school staff in getting Middlebrook ready to reopen. I do think many in the school appreciated Brian's calm, competent, and professional demeanor over these last several weeks, and we are truly sorry to say farewell. Brian has indicated that he's passing a cell phone number, and if he can be of any assistance from a distance, he's happy to do that. So with that news, in his stead, I am appointing as interim principal for this school year, Mr. Jory Higgins. Jory, as you know, is a Wilton resident who has served nobly as Dean of Students since 1999. During his 21 years as an administrator here in Wilton, he's led work across multiple subject areas, including special services, where he helped to build and expand the Support Center program. Throughout Jory's time in the district and at Middlebrook School, he's proven himself to be a champion for all students and an immensely collaborative colleague. He is very well liked and highly respected by the Middlebrook staff, and I do believe Jory is the best candidate at this point to fill the seat, and I know he'll bring steady leadership to the school, and he'll also be tremendously supported by the staff in that building. Jory's appointment does create a vacancy for a Dean of Students position, which we'll also post this week and seek to fill immediately. But on that note, I want to say thank you to Brian and farewell and best of luck. And Jory, welcome and congratulations, and thank you for being the interim principal.
Yeah, absolutely. Ditto to Dr. Smith's farewell to Brian. And again, thank you for your efforts in earlier positions and then obviously at Middlebrook for the last few weeks. Thank you. And Jory, congratulations. You've got your work cut out for you. It's a huge challenge ahead, but we have no doubt that you're going to rise to that and be successful. And I know you've got the faculty behind you, and the kids are going to love hearing the news as well as the families. So congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
In a different role. You're always welcome. This time in a different title. So.
Great. And Jory, of course, has already hit the ground running this afternoon. So just with respect to communication plans, we did speak to the faculty at Middlebrook this afternoon, and Maria has made plans to send this information out to our Middlebrook community, parent community, as well as to the broader community as this meeting is unfolding tonight. So that information is heading out now. Great. Thanks. All right, and thanks again, Jory, for being here. So on to some of our other reopening activities. We want to start and welcome Mr. Chris Burney and Mr. Jose Figueroa, who have been deeply involved in getting our facilities up to speed. So I know we've had a lot of work underway with the commissioning agent in the district, getting our ventilation systems examined and altered. So why don't we start with Chris on that topic, and then we'll transition to Jose on some of the other facility readiness plans.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
Oh, all right. Good. Good evening, everyone. The end of June, the state came out with a 5-6-page document, which they posted as guidelines and recommendations that we should all follow for getting ventilation systems ready for the fall and in dealing with COVID. We retained a company called CES, Commissioning Engineering Services, who had done a lot of work for us on the Miller Driscoll project. And they're working with Mark Esposito. We have managed to come up with, I think, a good result. I received last night a 19-page report, and I just thought I'd spend some time and tell you what we have done. I'm going to continue to say we, but it's Mark Esposito who takes the credit, because one of the immediate reactions from the committee, the company that came in, was, we can't believe how good and how well your systems are maintained. And I think you've heard that before, but I just wanted to pay personal tribute. I am a mechanical engineer by experience and career, and working with Mark has always been fun and challenging, because it's nice to get into the engineering field. I had thought about going into a discourse tonight on the benefits of reducing and increasing static pressure, fan curves, humidity control, temperature override. I don't see a show of hands, so we'll bypass that. So here's the nitty gritty. In the last 4 weeks, we, remember who the we is, have inspected over 400 components in our HVAC system. That's about the number of fan units, rooftop units, ventilation units, exhaust fans that we have. The list that was developed of things that were broken or needed to be fixed is about 20 items, significantly less than even I, as a hopeful person, would have thought we would have. We have achieved almost all of the goals that the state has put on us. The primary objective was to increase the fresh air amount in the schools. By doing that, you effectively increase the dilution rate of anything that's in the buildings. So if there are some particles that shouldn't be there, rather than recirculating them, which is fine, it meets the code. In hospital operating rooms, we recirculate 80% of the air. So there's nothing wrong with that. But in this particular environment, we wanted to go to more fresh air. So with no exception, we have managed to increase the fresh air in all of our buildings. For the most part, we tend to control our fresh air by what the carbon dioxide levels are. Carbon dioxide aspirated, more kids, more activity, you need more fresh air. So we are, in accordance with the state guidelines, we have set down our acceptable levels of carbon dioxide. So we are virtually running on 100% fresh air now. The testing that was done recently, when we looked at the outdoor levels of carbon dioxide, typically 350 to 450 parts per million, we're seeing the same things in the schools. We expect to be a little more challenged when the schools are full, by whatever definition. But I think we will be able to provide the maximum levels of fresh air in the buildings. We looked at the filters that we were using. We were using filters that were within the code, within the guidelines, within the standards, but we were able, by analysis and testing, to increase the level of filtration. Not to get into engineering, but if you increase the level of filtration, you restrict the airflow. You restrict the airflow, you load up the system, you spend more money, and fans burn out. So we had to balance how tight could we make the filtration versus were we going to lose the system. And we have significantly improved the level of filtration across the board. And I feel comfortable that our systems are going to stay online. We have increased the number of filter changes. You have a very fine filter, it gets dirty faster. So if it gets dirty faster, then it blocks more air, the whole scenario repeats. So we are now changing our filters every 60 days. And we will look at the condition of those filters when we take them out. If we need to go to 30 days, we will do that. This is not a simple or a cheap option. It's about $11,000, $15,000 for a filter change, just for the product. So we will be watching it carefully. We'll be monitoring carbon dioxide levels. One of the disadvantages of bringing in increased fresh air, particularly on a day like today, if it's humid and hot, we don't have the capacity, nobody has the capacity in a design system to remove the moisture that's necessary to be moved from a fresh air system like that. So we will watch in accordance with the guidelines. We're going to watch what the internal air condition, the comfort levels are. We don't want warm and humid air in the building. That's going to make it hard for people to wear masks on a full day. So we need to watch that. We'll monitor that. As we get into the colder period, we start to get below freezing temperatures. We need to monitor the fresh air coming in because our heating coils are not designed to deal with that much fresh air at potentially 25, 20 degrees. So we'll be resetting the systems potentially every time there's a seasonal change or a change in the weather outlook. And fortunately, the way we've got this set up is Mark can do almost everything that he needs to do now from his laptop. Sitting at home, in his office, wherever he is. And he's extremely adept at that. So I'm comfortable that we have satisfied the guidelines from the state. We will be posting the report on the Board of Ed website, sorry. And I just feel that right now we've got the best we can out of a system, out of all the systems. We even took a look at Trackside because that is part of the school system. Our opportunities at Trackside, it's a smaller building, it's a less sophisticated system, are limited. But we have maximized the fresh air. We've actually wired the dampers open so that we will have to go back and adjust before the winter comes here. But we have taken everything into consideration that the state has recommended, and I think we've managed to achieve everything. So other than answering any detailed engineering questions, that's my report.
Thank you. I think that's, very obviously positive and gives us all, with the greater understanding, also a greater sense of confidence. So thank you. And I realize the challenges in front with dealing with comfort levels in terms of the AC. Can you explain that a little bit in terms of, will it feel hotter in the buildings or is that going to be adjusted? How does that work in September, for instance, when the weather's kind of still hot, but you want as much fresh air as possible and you don't want all that humidity?
Well, we're going to have to deal with that on a day-by-day basis, which we have the ability to do. There are two parts of air temperature. There's the temperature that is recorded on a regular thermostat, dry bulb, and the wet bulb, which indicates the amount of moisture. We can control dry bulb, but if there's too much air going over the coils, we won't be able to reduce the moisture. We don't want to bring moisture into the building. It gets warm and clammy and sticky. So we will literally be working on a day-to-day basis with the air conditioning systems. And Mark's going to be observing, the real-time measurements that he's getting on his computer. We are required under the guidelines to run the exhaust system 24/7. We start the systems now 2 hours before school starts, and we run them for an hour after school. And we are now running all of the systems 24/7 to give us a full week of flush out of anything that's in the building. And we'll get some experience over the next week. The rest of this week's over. Next week, we'll get some experience on how do we deal and how do we react to very high humidity temperatures. Looking at the 7-day forecast, I'm not seeing temperatures next week in conditions like we had today, and that's positive. But I know that last September, we had some of the hottest days of the summer. So we know what we're going to do. We know how to react, and we're watching it. And there's nothing else that I can do or I can say, except that I'm not letting Mark take any vacations on.
Okay, thank you. Other questions, comments from the board?
Yeah, Chris, I raised a question a few meetings ago about water. And with the schools being shut down the way they have been, and the water being stagnant, sitting within the systems and all, the response was, I'm not sure are we good to go in all the schools with the water quality and the water having been tested in the systems?
There's a couple of answers to that, Glenn, and good to see you again. The schools have been offline, so to speak, for the staff and the students, obviously. We have been working, now I'm talking Jose and I, throughout the summer. So all of the systems, the faucets, generally speaking, everything's been working and running. We've been cleaning, we've been filling buckets, we've been draining systems.
Okay.
So in terms of the utility water, as opposed to drinking water, I think I don't think we have any issues. This is water from the public water site. It's tested routinely and regularly. I think as we go through next week, we will make sure that we don't have any, so what's called a dead end, where the last sink in the bathroom hasn't been activated for a while. So we'll go through and we'll make sure we run all of those and make sure, if the flashometers aren't working regularly, the seals may dry up and it'll leak. So we'll take care of all of that.
Okay, good.
When it comes to the drinking water, we are, at the direction of the Department of Health, shutting down the drinking water fountains and the bottle fillers. So that's not an issue. Now, at some point when those get turned on, we will have to run the water through and flush them. And there's a natural, the water coming into the building is already chlorinated. So it will be self-cleaning at some point when we start to run it and flow it. So I think we're in good shape then.
Okay, so all of the drinking fountain systems, et cetera, that they're all going to be shut down when school reopens.
That's my direction from the health department. Yes, sir.
All right, I think it's important for parents to know that that's and students to know that. Okay, good.
Hey,
All right,
Chris. Chris, it's Mandy. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for that report. We got an email, I can't remember, I guess it was from Middlebrook, but saying that the water fountains were shut down, but the fillers would be open.
That was a discussion point that I was aware of a couple of weeks ago. As of Monday, and the town emergency operations group has meetings 3 times a week, and the core group meets Monday and Friday. So on Monday, the discussion and the decision was to close everything, and the health director was going to have a discussion with his counterparts at the state level to see if that was necessary. So whatever I'm told, and that may be as soon as tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we leave them off, and we seal them off because we don't want unintended consequences of people thinking it works and pushing the button and creating a high contact point. But if the instruction in the decision is to open up the bottle fillers, we'll certainly make sure that happens, and that they have been, that I'm more concerned about that being flushed, to Glenn's point, than I am about making sure that the toilets are not that they aren't flushed, and then that's an unfortunate combination of words there. But I don't have any concerns about the quality of the water going into the toilets, but I want to make double sure that if we are opening the bottle fillers, and they are a touchless product, but you can't. It's hard. The discussion we had last Monday was it's a touchless product, but it's hard to know that nobody has touch. You don't have to, but somebody wants to try and rinse their hands under it or something. We just don't know that. So that's the discussion that the health director was going to have at the state this week. I may get a new direction tomorrow.
I just think we just need to clarify that and send it to parents, whichever the decision is. But thank you.
Yeah.
If I might, just for a minute, I appreciate the clarity of Mr. Burney's explanation. And it is a timeline issue when we've been writing the letters to parents, and the information that I had was that while the fountains were closed, the bottle fillers were going to be open, and that we will certainly abide and follow through on whatever the health department decision is, but it will be problematic once we have all the children in the building to not be able to access drinking water. It will require some additional problem solving.
Yeah, that was when I spoke with it indicated that water bottle fillers are fine. So this change, as per point, we'll get final clarity from Barry. Hopefully, as soon as the change, we'll communicate that. And if we need to provide, water bottles, we'll come up with a plan and communicate that out if we need to change this year.
Kevin, there's a little feedback on your sound.
Oh, okay.
Just out of curiosity, because at one point the decision was that you could have bottle fillers, and now they're saying no. Is it something that's looked at as on a regular basis, or is it is it a static or a dynamic decision? You know what I'm saying?
It is a work in progress, and as more information becomes available, and more people contribute ideas and thoughts and theories, just like everything else, all of the things that you all are dealing with in terms of how you're going to teach the student. It can literally change on a day-to-day basis. So, as I said, the discussion on Monday was a reversal of the previous decision. If there has been some changes from Hartford, and Barry chairs the meeting every other day. If there is a change, I'll certainly take your concerns tonight to the committee tomorrow. We will have a discussion, and I can't tell you how it's going to end up because I haven't talked to Barry since Tuesday.
We could just pack an extra water bottle.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Our kids could just bring an extra water bottle.
That would be one solution. We could probably provide bottled water, and that would be an additional expense. More recyclable products, but I think the biggest problem, and to what when Brian Hagan brought this up, is dealing with the expectations that we've already said something. But I don't have the authority, and I can't give you an answer yes or no. I can simply say, take this discussion back to the committee tomorrow, and if there's a change, if there's not a change, I will report through Brian and Maria what was discussed at the committee. Well, Maria and I had a discussion earlier today, and I already have some stuff tomorrow to bring to the committee and bring back to Maria. So we email well over 100 times a day between group of us. So we'll make whatever information is available tomorrow, I will make available.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Is my sound better?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
So there's 125 people in Wilton without power right now, and 40,000 in the state. Just thought I'd give you that update.
Okay, thank you.
Jose, so why don't you walk us through what you and the custodians have been up to in terms of getting the facilities ready? Jose.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for, yeah, can you hear me, George?
I think so.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to add on to what Chris Burney was saying in regards to Marcus Esposito. He is truly a great asset to our district. His hard work, it goes, it definitely doesn't go unnoticed. So I appreciate that, Chris shared that, he's a hard worker. And I also want to acknowledge the head custodians, the maintenance crew, and the custodians for all their hard work that they've done during these challenging times. So yeah, I give them kudos to them. They've been working extremely hard. So we could get into the PPE gear for the district. We have around 95% of our PPE gear has arrived. The remaining PPE gear that we're waiting for, which should arrive in the next day or two, are the remaining gloves for the facilities, the staff, and the custodians. We also are waiting for 250 of the portable sneeze guards. They should be in district on September 10th. That's when they're going to be delivered. There's quite a bit of PPE gear. I don't know if you want me to run down through it, which I will. I'll just go through it really quickly. We provided our facilities with 700 touchless hand sanitizer dispensers. We've installed them in every classroom. With the custodians today, we're in the process of putting them in the common areas, in the main office guidance week. So we definitely got some nice coverage with the hand sanitizer dispensers throughout the building. We also provided the staff with hand sanitizer wipes that they were given so that they could have in their classrooms. There are also PPE gear for the individual staff members. We provided them with a face shield, gloves, the hand sanitizer wipes. There are also sneeze guards that are installed in the front of the classrooms to protect the teachers and the students. In every classroom, we removed all the fabric material from the classrooms and put them in storage bins. So it's easier for us when we go through to start cleaning the facilities. We could, clean the hard surfaces with our QT3 disinfectant. We have a stock of 20,000 3-ply face masks for the students and staff if they need them. We distributed 1,000 to each facility. So we gave that to the main office, and they've been working on deploying them with to the staff members. We are also have 1,500 sneeze guards, 1,200 which we purchased from WB Mason in a variety of sizes. We have small and large. We've deployed those to the facilities as well. 300 of them were built by our maintenance department. They're a little bit more sturdier. They have bases on them. So we've installed those in certain areas and in the sped department where the kids might not be able to wear their mask. So we provided that for those areas. Again, PPE gear, we're just waiting on the remaining gloves and the 250 sneeze guards. In every classroom, we've maintained that 6-foot social distancing. We provided the instructor, the teacher, their space 6 feet from the front of the room. Every student desk is spaced out 6 feet. Our average class size is anywhere from 12 to 14. There was quite a bit of furniture that needed to be removed from the classrooms. Just today, we have 16 40-foot storage containers on site throughout our district to store all this furniture that we had to remove from the classrooms. Trying to think what else. All classrooms have the touchless dispensers. Even at trackside, we've gone through and I give credit to Cindy and the staff over there, our teachers. They've gone through and did the same thing with the social distancing for trackside. The maximum capacity for that space will probably be around 20 when we measured off the trackside. We have Prop and Spoon come out. They've installed signage throughout our district, in classrooms, in the corridors, in the restroom, in the common area, which came out really, really nice. I took pictures, and hopefully you'll be able to see what was done if you haven't been in the facilities. They did a very, very nice job. I'm really pleased with the work that they've done. They will be returning back tomorrow or Monday just to kind of finish up on some little detail items like in the front of the school and the library. But once that's done, we'll be in really, really good shape. But I would say they got probably 98% of their work done. We also had hired Turner Construction to come out and install sneeze guards in the common areas to protect, the receptionists, the central office staff, the administration staff. We also took pictures of the work that they've done, which was a really, really nice job. Again, it gives us that protection that we needed in those spaces. Aside from that, I mean, there was other work that was done throughout our district. Just at Middlebrook, we installed 60 cameras. We hired a new electrician. He went through, he started on June. He was able to get quite a bit of work done. I'm pretty impressed with the workload that he's done. Again, he ran 60 cameras for Middlebrook. He also did some work at the high school in the meditation room, which came out very, very nice. He's in the process of running our emergency operation push button notification system. He has Middlebrook taken care of, Cider Mill, and he's currently working at the high school. So he's pressed, but he's getting it done. At the high school, we did some work. We did some abatement work in the girls' locker room. That was done over the summertime. The tile crew or construction crew are there just buttoning that up. That'll be done tomorrow. We also replaced the stairwell tread in the field house, which was a trip hazard. So we finally got around to getting that taken care of. I think we're in really, really good shape as far as the custodial staff. There's a couple, desks here and there that we're waiting for Eagle Leasing to drop off the Connex boxes so we could fill them up. but I think that we'll be ready to go on Monday. The custodians have been working hard, and we really do look forward to having the students back and staff. You know, I mean, there was a lot of work that was put into it, and we're excited. We really are excited to have them come back.
Jose, we may have some questions, but before we do that, I know that all our board members want to be sure to thank you and your staff. What you've outlined is nothing short of tremendous. And we owe just so much to you guys for putting it all together so we can actually bring the faculty back and the kids back. You are truly the unsung heroes, and we don't say thank you enough. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. You've done an amazing, incredible job. And I'm so glad to hear that you're also still enthusiastic. And so thank you for your, not only your work, but also the really positive attitude that you and your staff have brought. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'll definitely let them know.
Any questions or comments, specifics?
Debbie, I have a few pictures. Jose had taken some pictures. I had a few myself. So if it's okay, I'm going to share my screen for a minute and just elaborate on some of the details Jose shared so you guys can get a clearer look at some of the signage and some of the plexiglass barriers and things that have been installed, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so let me find my screen again here. So this is Millard Driscoll. So you can see here in the
actually, not yet. We can't quite see it.
Oh.
Got your desktop.
Yeah.
Well, that's no good, is it?
There's a lot on your desktop, but I don't see Millard Driscoll.
How's that? That better?
It's getting there. There you go.
Just make it bigger.
Yeah, make it bigger. There you are. Perfect.
Okay, yay. So front office, you can see the plexiglass barrier here at the counter. That was installed by Turner. We have 6-foot discs for the floor that are reminders for people who come in the door. Throughout the building, we've set up the corridors with reminders for staff to stay to the right, so you can see the up and down stair markers. There's also green and yellow chevrons on the floor throughout the building. We have designated doors as enter and exit only throughout the building. In restrooms, there are signs notifying students and staff to wait, and then there are occupancy signs on all of the restrooms. This is one example of a classroom. These are 6-foot tables, and these are examples of sneeze guards that are placed in the center of the tables. These are the sneeze guards that our maintenance crew built. So you can see tables are spaced out, kids are 6 feet apart on either side, and we have the sneeze guard barrier in between. At Cider Mill, similarly, around many of the desks, we have the plexiglass stations. In classrooms, these are examples of the trifold sneeze guards that we purchased from WB Mason, and those are set up on desks. You can see desks are spread out 6 feet apart. Similar across the district are prompts for students and staff if they're waiting in line or waiting for bathrooms to stand 6 feet apart. Here on the main entry of Cider Mill and at all of our buildings, you can see, again, the signage and reminders to wear your mask, sanitize your hands. We have segregated entrance and exit for people to promote the proper traffic flow in and out of the building. No different. Middlebrook signs around the building and outside the school, wear your mask. Designated entrance and egress. Here in the main office, an example of the barriers erected by Turner Construction. We also purchased a number of these A-frames. So these are portable signs with reminders, keep your distance, wear your mask, wash your hands. So we have a supply of these for each schools, and these will be out on the sidewalk in common areas. Again, just reminding students and others who visit the building of our various mitigation strategies. Here in the center picture, you can see we've designated, some of these corridors, students have to stay to the right in order to maintain that 6 feet. So we have prompts for which side of the hallway they should be walking on if they have to move through the building. And then high school, just another example. So this is an example from one of the bathrooms. So signs to wash your hands. We already saw the occupancy signs, but similar discs on the floors to help students spread out. Another example of supplies of these reminder A-frame signs that will be throughout the district. And then this is an example of a high school classroom. And again, similar, you can see the desks are spread out. Sneeze guard barriers are here in the front row. And then the last piece here is just some other freestanding signs that'll also be, at the entryways, just reminding visitors of our various mitigation strategies and what they need to do before entering the building.
Hey, Kevin, it's Mandy. I have a quick question. This is awesome. It's so fun seeing pictures, and the only thing that will be making it better is seeing kids in the classroom with all those pictures. But what about outside? I think that we can all agree that outside is the best way. And I know we had talked about purchasing tents. Where did we land on that?
Yeah, so we actually, Chris and I have been working on quite an odyssey to get the right tent. So we have one currently erected. We had the fire marshal come over and take a look at it. I believe Bob Root from Planning and Zoning is supposed to come over. Chris, Bernie, can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
We have a permit process to go through, and we've retained an architect and an engineer so that we can produce the documents required by the building inspector to satisfy the Connecticut State Code. The tent, we put up a tent this week as a test. Jose and the maintenance crew actually put it up, and it didn't seem to take that long. So the approval process is going to take longer, but once we get approval process, I think they can verify. I think we can get them all up in a day. We'll know after the end of tomorrow, when I start to get feedback from the architects, the structural engineers, and from Turner, what we think the time frame is going to be to produce the calculations that are required. But I spoke to the building inspector this morning. We had discovered a label on the inside of the tent, which I thought could be significant. It turned out not to be, and we're proceeding with the permit application. And Kevin and I do apologize. I meant to get back to you today and tell you that, and I totally forgot.
No worries. So, great, thanks. Yeah, so according to plan, and we'll have those available for staff and student use.
So if I may just make two quick comments, just to point out that nothing stays the same. In less than 10 weeks, we have a general election, and potentially 12,000 people will be coming through the schools to vote. It is a very different year with COVID, and we have been working for probably 6 weeks on it. So you will see the polling stations this year, Clune Center, Cider Mill Gym, Middlebrook Gym, they will be very different from past years, but they will be in keeping with slides that Kevin just showed you. Jose and I and Turner and Mercer Construction have been working on that. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with tonight is one piece of trivia, and probably the easiest thing for you to remember when you leave here. Jose mentioned we bought all of these hand sanitizing dispensing machines. We also bought 4,000 AA batteries to make them run. 4,000 AA batteries, probably the most important thing I've got to say tonight.
4,000?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Maybe every kid can bring 2. So thank you. We'll remember that number. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jose. Thanks. Anything else for Jose or Chris before we move on to the next update?
Yeah. No, just a tremendous job. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah. Just to say, I think the biggest issue at this point is the teacher's anxiety over all the mitigation equipment, the PPE, and our preparation, our being ready to have them back in and bring students back. From what we've seen tonight or what you've said tonight, it seems like we are within, striking distance of being where we need to be. But the teachers need to know that. Hopefully there are many of them listening and watching, and they will be calmed by what we've heard tonight, that we're there or very close to being where we need to be, because that still is a major issue for many of the teachers coming back. That's all I need to say.
I would just like to clarify, when Jose said we almost have everything we need, he is talking about the year. Everything that we need for the year. He already has everything he needs for the next few months. I mean, when this started to break down, Jose was out buying 10,000 masks here and 10,000 there from WB Mason. So when we say we almost have everything, it's we almost have everything to get us through June. So if that makes people feel a little better, anybody coming into school, we don't have any room to put things. So, if we get more deliveries, we might be hiring more containers. But in terms of availability and accessibility to the PPE, we're good.
Great. That's great. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Chris.
Yes, thank you both, Chris and Jose.
Great. So why don't we move on to Maria Coleman, who's going to provide an update on our childcare readiness activities.
Good evening. I wanted to begin by starting with an update on our conversation last week about the campus supervisors. I thought the board might like to know where we are with that as well, so I thought I'd start with that. We were able to reach an agreement with the UPSU union. That is the union that represents campus supervisors, paraprofessionals, and secretarial staff across the district. And as the board may recall, it was our desire to try to negotiate a lower starting rate for a position very similar to the campus supervisor position, but with a more limited set of responsibilities. And through a lot of productive conversation, we were able to do that. We created a new position called Safety Compliance Supervisor. These safety compliance supervisors are going to be focused really on compliance with all of the different protocols that we're going to be instituting for the upcoming school year. And we looked at the starting rate for campus supervisors, which begins at $24 an hour. It's a range, it goes up from that. We were able to negotiate a rate for these safety compliance supervisors of $18 an hour. So doing that is going to save just across those 4 positions over $30,000 over the course of the year. I also wanted to let the board know that with the reduction of the other positions that we had discussed last week at Cider Mill, it brings the cost down to about half of what we had proposed. And that's the worst case scenario, because it also includes insurance for everyone, which we don't know whether our new hires will take. So I thought you might be interested in that update. And we posted those positions and hope to fill them soon.
Thanks.
No, that's a critical piece of information. So thank you. That's great. So your estimate now for the cost of, I think we approved 4 campus supervisors. Am I right?
Yes. Yes. It's about half of what we had projected, and that's worst case scenario for an entire year. So it's about $220,000 for an entire year if all 4 of those safety compliance supervisors require insurance at the highest level. So the insurance costs different amounts based on coverage, whether it's a single person plus 1, or an entire family. So we're looking at a worst case scenario cost of about half of what we projected over the past couple of weeks.
Okay, great. And then Maria, one more question about that. Well, maybe that's for later, so I'll wait. I was going to ask about, we did leave Cider Mill sort of hanging, but we can come back to that. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
We did, and I think what we'll do is come back to you with another proposal for cafeteria aides for Cider Mill. It's funny to use that term because we're not going to have people necessarily working in the cafeterias, but we will have the need for people monitoring lunch. And so that's going to come in at a much lower cost. And we'll come probably at the next meeting with a proposal for that.
Okay, thank you.
And I also wanted to give an update on childcare. As many of you know, the Wilton Continuing Education group has offered childcare before school and after school for many, many years within the district. They've had a very successful program. There's often been a waiting list. It's one of the first programs in Wilton Continuing Education to book up every year. And this year, certainly there was a lot of interest from families. One of the things that was different this year is that we saw a need for families in town as well as staff to offer something during the day, particularly if we were looking at a hybrid model. And I will say, having been in the district for over 20 years, I know that this conversation about on-site childcare for staff or childcare for staff anywhere within the district has been a conversation for at least that many years. It's been a challenging summer to pull something like that off. I think of all times to try to take on something that is so complex on a good day. Certainly we've faced those challenges, but we felt like it was really important to try to offer that service for families and particularly for staff members who are facing a lot of challenges with childcare at this time. The project was moving forward. Things were looking good. About a week and a half ago, we learned about some unanticipated changes. And so we began looking for alternate sites out of our buildings. We've been visiting a number of sites. I want to acknowledge Dolores Tufariello, the Director of Continuing Education, who has worked extensively with her team to visit many, many sites within town, office buildings, town facilities, parks and things like that. And we're very close to signing an agreement with the YMCA. They've been very gracious. They offer their own child care program, but have been very good to partner with us and try to find us. We've walked the facility several times. We've worked with Bob McDowell. We're in the process now of having our attorney review the agreement. And we've had very productive conversations with Chris Burney and Barry Bogle about our plans and just ensuring that all of the protocols are in place. So we're very hopeful that that's going to be complete by tomorrow afternoon, because we are projected to start next week. And so if all goes as planned, that's what we will be able to do. I do want to acknowledge that the enrollment at this point is limited because the space is limited. We have between 6 and 15 students that are participating in either the before school or after school program, which will continue to be housed at Miller Driscoll and Cider Mill. The reason for that is those are students that are going to be attending their cohorts in those buildings on those days. So that program will remain largely unchanged relative to what it had been in previous years. You know, you go to school on a certain day, you might need to be dropped off by a parent earlier or picked up later in the afternoon. The day program, which is planned to be off-site, has approximately 20 students per day. And we've had to limit that size just because of space and social distancing protocols that we're going to need to follow. You know, initially when we had staff express interest in this, we had about 70 staff members who expressed interest. At this point, we only have about 5 who have signed up. And I just want to acknowledge, I think part of that has just been the uncertainty of the program. People have to make plans and have, you know, security that they're going to have childcare covered. But, you know, I think this was going to be a challenge at any point, add to a pandemic, and it was that much more challenging. And we're committed to making it a very smooth transition. We've been working very hard with people across the district and in the town to make this a successful start. And we are really hoping for that for Monday. So, you know, I always say this pandemic, every day seems like about a month with all that goes on. And so even though we only have about a day, one business day between now and Monday, I think a lot can happen tomorrow, and we're very close to finalizing the plan.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Yeah, a teacher who has made other arrangements, if they have a problem on any given day, are they allowed to do like a drop-in, or is that not going to be allowed because of everything going on?
It'll be based on the capacity, you know, the availability of space. Typically, Wilton Continuing Education would allow for that in their program. You can buy singles, you can buy 5-packs. but it'll be based on what the availability is. And we have limited space at the Y. We have limited space also because of the social distancing that we're going to have to follow. So yes, we would like to offer that if it's possible.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm. Thank you.
If there are
Oh,
no,
thank you.
let's transition to Compar and Eric Hawkinson, and they can give us on our activities with Schoology and other preparations, our hardware preparations.
Can I just interrupt and ask a question? Maybe it's just my computer, but there seems like there's a lot of feedback.
Yes.
I hear it
I
too.
don't know whether it's because we're double recording or something, but it just sounds a little funny. So that's all right, as long as it's not just me.
No, I'm not sure what it is.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to talk a little bit about our partnership with facilities. I want to thank Jose and Chris Burney for the work that their team has done. And I just want to say Lewis has been a fabulous addition to the team. His addition has allowed us to do a lot of work with the camera systems and prepare those. We also consolidated our door access control system. So we now have a door access control system that's across the entire district. We brought in nearly 1,000 Chromebooks for grade 1, grade 3, and grade 6, and units for the high school. Those are being deployed as we speak. They went out today from the schools and they'll be going out tomorrow. The laptops for Cider Mill and Miller Driscoll are on site. We're actually able to move up the installation at Cider Mill for the teacher laptops and all the docking stations for the start of school. And we'll be working with Miller Driscoll starting the second week of school to start that rollout. For hybrid classrooms, we have deployed nearly 300 classrooms worth of web cameras, tripods. We have sound fields now deployed in all the classrooms. We have some wiring that we're just finishing up. The cabling came in today. We'll be finishing that up tomorrow in about 40 rooms in the district. The document cameras are scheduled to arrive on September 15th due to a couple of delays that we had. We have done some updates to our PowerSchool parent portal over the summer. We have a contact update and student update portal that's available now inside the parent portal under forms, which we'll be introducing to the district around September 15th. So parents are able to update their information online. We also will have report cards and progress reports stored in the parent portal this year. So we won't have to email those out to parents, as well as some transcripts and testing results will reside in the parent portal. We have a switch upgrade that we're putting in on Saturday, and that's to facilitate the new cameras at Cider Mill and Middlebrook. And then we're also upgrading our internet connection. So we have some additional capacity in case we need that later on in the year. And all of this was in preparation for the rollout of Schoology and to support the hybrid classrooms and our hybrid learning model. So Fran, we can talk a little bit about Schoology.
All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you. My update is really one of what a difference a few days make. Essentially, in the last few days, we've been speaking with folks at the schools. We had a wonderful meeting with our LLC and technology instructional leaders teams and learned a lot about the progress and the amazing progress that all of our educators have made in the past week and a half. So I'm just going to take it from classroom setup on down. When we talk about the classroom setup, we're talking about lots of new equipment that's in those classrooms, as Eric was saying. And all of that equipment is in the midst of actually being either delivered or, actually set up. We started with this week with having teachers go through the actual process of connecting their laptops with the smart boards. And as we noted, I think in previous meetings, there's a need, as you look at what is instructionally sound, to have screen sharing, annotation, being able to share on the smartboard, being able to write on the smartboard, being able to record, being able to see students that are at home in the Zoom session as well as in front of you. So the complexity that our teachers have been dealing with and trying to get acclimated with is absolutely incredible. And all this in a mask, and all this in a physically distanced classroom. So, and all this in a classroom that looks different than anything that they have actually taught in previous years. But in the last week and a half, as we've done the PD, what we've seen is that they've come together and they're beginning to problem solve around some of the issues, the ways that they have been teaching in the past, and being able to translate that into this new environment has been short of heroic and incredible. We've started seeing groups of teachers coming together and helping each other out and suggesting things. We've begun looking at ways that attendance, for example, can be done quickly through Schoology at the beginning of a session, or being able to use Zoom as the way that you teach if Schoology is not for that short period of time able to be accessed. So we've done a great amount of work, and I think we've gotten to the point where we wanted to, where the systems, the technology, the equipment is now turning into a conversation about how to best teach with it. And that's where we wanted to get to, and I believe we're there. I can report that I spoke to our curriculum coordinators today, who were thrilled about lessons that were done at Middlebrook School by our coaches, Julianne Walsh and Suzanne Prada, that were actual demo lessons within the classrooms using the equipment, so that they would have the opportunity to have teachers watch them in an actual class doing that test. It was wonderful, and it was a great problem-solving time, and it was probably the best PD opportunity ever. I thank the coaches, I thank the coordinators, I thank all the teachers for putting that together. It's the right way to move forward. On the Schoology end, I'll just divide it up in the different stakeholders. This week, we ran parent training sessions. We had over 700 parents participate in the webinars. We went through a walkthrough of how to actually register for accounts as a parent, add children if you have multiple children, be able to toggle back and forth, be able to get to courses, information on the courses, be able to actually look at grades, activity feeds, and all of the rest of the information that parents now have access to through Schoology. As of yesterday, we had almost 2,000 parents already registered for Schoology. So we're doing quite well in a few days with our parent population, and we will continue having ways for parents to access support and be able to have their questions answered. Access codes have gone out to all parents with the access codes for each of their children. And we've been helping parents who've had problems with getting in because of idiosyncrasies with access codes or what have you. And we've got a system in place for that. We've set up a website on the front page. There's a button now for information on support for Schoology, as well as tech help that's specific to what Eric was talking about, devices, Wi-Fi, any kind of technical issues. Eric will have a virtual help desk that will be manned all week with a forum for any type of issues in that area. And we're working on the same kind of forums for Schoology issues as well. For students, a letter will be going out tomorrow to all families for students with access and information on how to log in to Schoology. I'll just be honest with you, our students have already figured it out. Many of them are already into Schoology. But we will still be sending out the information. They're very clever, and they've figured out how to get into it. And I think they're enjoying being able to see what their classes are and what it looks like thus far. But we will be sending out that letter. And in addition to the letter, our school buildings will also send information that's specific to the buildings, and perhaps some tutorials that are more appropriate at that age. I know Miller Driscoll has a very different need because the children are so little. We have QR codes going out and a variety of different ways that students can access the technology that they need. We also have planned for next week a variety of lessons on learning how to navigate all of the technology for our students. There will be a Schoology 101 with sessions on getting in, being able to navigate, see the courses, be able to engage in discussions, be able to submit assignments, link Google Drive, all of the things that children will need in order to be successful in learning in this online world. Finally, our teachers. I've got to say, I'm amazed. They're heroes. The things that I have seen in the past several days from teachers in their Schoology setup is going to be really impressive to the students. Will be serving their needs, and parents will see the efforts that they're putting in. They've been flexible, they've been adaptable, but I think they've also been very creative problem solvers. They have been getting lots of great PD from our LLC Tech IL staff. They've been engaging in their own problem solving around workflow. They've learned new features. They've imported curriculum content. Curriculum was actually created over the summer by a number of curriculum teams. In some cases, some teams have several weeks worth of curriculum already prepared. They've added the links to the Zoom sessions, and they're now personalizing their online classroom. So some of them have gotten into, as you decorate your physical classroom, they've gone into decorating their online classrooms. In terms of some of the back end concerns and issues that we've been working on, with any new implementation, anything as large as Schoology, there is always hiccups. And imagine implementing a large, robust learning management system during a pandemic. Imagine doing that within 2 months of time. Imagine coming up with, we need this for the pandemic in June, and getting as many teachers as we have in this system trained, students on, parents on, curriculum in there. And this group of so many people have done that. So in addition to that, we have had some localized issues that we continue fixing. We now have the gradebook synced. What that means that as grades and feedback are given in Schoology, they will sync right into our PowerSchool gradebook. We've addressed some of the naming conventions of the courses. There have been some additions of resources, tutorials, graphic organizers, ways of personalizing things. And we continue to work on making it better, because Schoology is scalable. And that's one of the things that we really loved about it. We've only rolled out a small portion of Schoology. As we move forward, there will be more and more that will be able to really address the needs of our students.
Hey,
yeah.
And I just wanted to, because I was just watching the clock. That's all. So,
oh, I'm sorry. Am I?
No, it's good information, but I think you've covered all the high points, unless there was anything else major that's really important for the board to hear.
No, I just wanted to thank everybody. The LLC Tech IL folks, Eric's team, and I also want to give a shout out to our own WETV kids that have also been working really hard on this. There's been so many people that have been working behind the scenes, and I just really want to thank everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, absolutely right. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Look, I have a quick question there, and I don't know if it's to Eric or to Fran, but from conversation with a number of teachers, there have been numerous audio problems. And I'm not sure, students not being able to hear or overlap or back, whatever it is. Have those been resolved in the process?
So some of the issues we've had, Glenn, as people have been learning the system, if you have multiple computers running a Zoom class in the same room, microphones and the computer speakers will create feedback loops. So it's a learning process where people need to turn off microphones and the speakers when there are multiple machines participating in a Zoom room.
All right, and they understand that now. Everybody has been instructed or told what to do and how to manage that.
So in terms of the way that we've been doing the practice hybrid classroom, we've been going through some of the issues with having to turn down the sound or using headphones. All of that has been part of what we've been doing as the practice is going on.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And I only have one quick thing. Thank you for moving as fast as you have and getting us to this point. Given all the progress we've made, are we good to be in person on the 8th?
We are. I mean, our like I said, in just a short period of time, our teachers have done a fabulous job. And just by glancing at some of the Schoology courses, they are ready to go. A lot of them are ready to go. And I think they will be by Monday, not by the 8th. In terms of the in-person, there will be more practice. Next week will be a great time to work with just the remote learners, and that will acclimate teachers better for the following week.
Okay, thanks.
Great.
Yeah, and I'll just ask one more question, which is the Glenn question. We have the infrastructure when the kids and all the teachers are on at the same time.
Yes, we have the infrastructure, and we actually have some redundancy in systems. So if we have systems outside of the building that we have issues with, we do have some redundancies or other systems we can move over to support our users both on and off campus.
Okay, and then Schoology, again, all the kids come back in September. Can Schoology handle us or everybody?
So the Schoology platform has actually been upgraded. We had that one outage. I would think that with any kind of system, we had, Zoom outage this week, as a matter of fact, that there will be, intermittent outages, but it has worked quite well for the days, except for the 2 that we had the 1 hour downtime.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for all, you and your team and all your work. Again, all of these are tremendous projects and coming close to the finish line. So thank you.
Deb, quick question for parents who are having issues with Schoology, asking for a friend, of course. Could we ever create like an email address like schoologyhelpwilton.com, just so that, I hate to see people go through Facebook to try and figure these things out. It'd be great to have one, no matter what school you're at, one email address that we could just email you guys for help.
So Mandy, we've set up a Google form that I shared out through the webinar trainings for the parents. It's on the website, but maybe we can blast it out as part of our letter tomorrow as well.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
If I could just ask one kind of network question tagging on with all this increased usage and everything, are we also confident in the, security of our network?
Yes, we're confident in the security of our network. We actually have an outside firm that's doing testing of our networks, and we continually upgrade and manage and monitor our networks.
Great. If there are no other questions for Fran and Eric, I wanted to give each principal a minute or so just to do a very brief update. I know we've had a lot of questions about just staff readiness and what's happening in the buildings. And so I thought we'll start with Kathy Kuhn and just give us a quick overview of where people are as of this hour.
Okay. So really quickly, in the last 2 weeks, I just want to say my staff, my teachers came back with a can-do attitude, and they're exhibiting all the mindset traits that we work so hard to teach the kids. We front loaded a lot of Schoology training into last week and the beginning of this week. And I think now teachers have the training. They've now had time to spend on their own, knowing that they have tech support there if needed, but have had the time to kind of, digest all of it and, work within Schoology themselves. So they had training over the summer. They had additional training last week. They've had even more training while they've also, over the last 2 days, just 2 days, pivoted to get all of the materials, the Chromebooks and everything else ready for both remote only students as well as cohort A and B students in grades 1 and 2. So we did a gigantic materials pickup today, thanks to the secretaries and the paras and their organization. And we have the rest of that materials pickup yesterday. Parents have had all different kinds of letters, both from me as well as the classroom teachers, and Ruth can attest to that. She's probably tired of reading them all, but between logistics and what does remote learning look like, huge shout outs to my administrative team, my coaches, my tech team. Brian Innes has worked tirelessly. It's absolutely amazing. And Dr. Smith was over in the building today. And again, we said from the beginning, first day back for teachers, which was not very long ago. I just want to remind everyone, it was just last week. It's like we're eating the elephant. We're going to do it one bite at a time. And they have been, with us the entire way. We have public service announcement videos all set to go. And on Monday, again, all the parents today got a letter from their classroom teacher saying, this is how you're getting on for Monday. And Kevin said to say, what can everybody expect Monday? You can expect that your classroom teacher is going to be there with a big smile on. They were ecstatic after they did meet the teacher. They just had a whole different, look to them. So they are ready for Monday and they can't wait to see the kids, even though it's remotely right now. They can't wait to do that. And then they can't wait to welcome them back. So that's my short version, Kevin.
Thanks, Kath. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So same as Kathy, I think that everybody's feeling very cautiously optimistic and more ready every day to welcome back our students. Really just excited to have them back in the building with us. So I'm so eternally grateful for their collaborative nature of the staff and the camaraderie of our team. Thankful for Lauren and Catherine, my two partners. Our teachers are so dedicated. I wish you guys could be in here and watch the amount of energy and time and commitment that they are spending each and every day. It's amazing to watch. They are fearless and committed beyond belief. I just want to say thanks to Franz. She has been working tirelessly along with our coordinators, our coaches, our LLC staff, our paraprofessionals, and Diane and the secretaries today, just like they did at Miller Driscoll. They did the pickup of supplies, and our staff is amazing.
Great.
It's truly unbelievable. The PPE is here, the signage is in. I know that was a worry from everybody last week. Sanitizer is looking good. We're thankful for the shortened days to continue our training. I think on Monday morning today, we had a chance to see what we're calling the what are they called? The update page where students will land, and it's very personalized to where the teacher's classroom. And so it'll be really nice for our students to see that Monday morning. And tonight, parents will be getting some information from me on some visuals and videos and tutorials where I don't think anybody will have a problem logging in to the system. And I think what I'm going to do is go find that help desk before I actually send it out and link it right into the letter before I hit send. I'm glad I actually heard that. I'm just grateful for everybody and can't thank my staff and the Wilton community enough for all of their hard work. So just looking forward to getting the kids back.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Principal Higgins.
So thank you. Good evening, everybody. That sounds nice, doesn't it? I'm just so incredibly proud of our staff. You heard Kathy and Jen talk about the tireless efforts. I'll use that word too. There's just been some incredibly tireless efforts from the staff because they're just trying to make everything right for our students, and they're so excited to do that. And it's obviously with a nod to our custodial staff. You heard Jose and Chris talk about it earlier. They really been incredible. The amount of work they're doing in terms of just getting the school ready in general is already a lot of hard work. And now they're being told, hey, move half the furniture out of the building. And oh, by the way, find a place to put it. So there's just been a lot of moving parts and a lot of people doing some incredible work there. But, as a teaching staff, we're just really excited to get back to the work we love. And that is to work with students. And when you think about it, it's been almost 6 months that we've been away from the kids, and we miss them. So we're filled with that fun, nervous excitement right now, and it's that palpable feeling of we can't wait for the kids to get back. You've heard about the incredible efforts about the hardware and the software updates. The teachers are also rewriting and writing units for that reentry just to try to create that positive and learning environment for our students. Because, come Monday morning, we're going to have a half-day schedule. I know you've all seen the schedule at this point. There'll be a half day for the kids, but a full day for the staff. And they're going to be working really to make sure that our students feel that introduction, that welcome to Middlebrook. For some kids, it's a welcome back. For some, it's a welcome to the Brook, as we call it. And just help set up those expectations of what life's going to be like to be a student in middle school, that sort of thing. But so much of it is going to be about building relationships. You've heard in different ways from Kathy and from Jen already, but I think we're inundating parents as well with that information from team leaders right now. And it's really just to email the families and let them know introductions, welcomes, who they are as team leaders, but also what to do when things don't work, whether it's a plan B or a safety net, whatever we're going to call it, that idea for parents and understanding, like Mandy, you just mentioned, what happens if it's not going right and how do we make it work? And they're putting all those steps in place for parents to hopefully make that very user-friendly. And so that's all been distributed already for most of our teams, if not all. And ultimately, we just can't wait to see our kids again. Thank you.
Thanks, Jor. Dr. O'Donnell.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, thank you, Principal Higgins. I'm honored to be the second one to use that term. Well done. So at the high school, we've made some great progress this week. I want to commend our teachers for their perseverance, and they really just have a desire to really, really do the job well and be outstanding teachers for all of our students. The reality is, last week we did have some challenges and some frustrations with technology and Schoology. We are definitely in a better place this week. That has improved. The teachers have been diligently learning the program. There are multiple examples of teachers collaborating within departments and in course-based teams. So, some of the teachers this week in my conversations with them, some have actually said, I feel as if I've gotten over the hump. I think with some of them, we're rounding a few corners. Regarding the readiness question, they're in different places, but importantly, we have some differentiated support in place for them. Eric Mendelson and Michelle Maher have been absolute rock stars in supporting all of our teachers and getting them ready. We've had actually a morning faculty Zoom meeting every day this week, rather than try to take everything on at once and have to access multiple documents. The night before, actually the day before, by 3 o'clock, 3:30, we put out a plan so that teachers know what to expect the next day in terms of updates with health and safety and PPE, which is designed to reassure them. We all know that in order to be effective teachers, they need to be comfortable. They need to feel safe in their environment. So that's been one of the areas of focus, and also just SEL activities, social emotional learning activities, not for the students, that'll be next week, but for our teachers to get them in a better place. And then again, just updates on what we need to do with Schoology. We've told them we're going to give you as much possible time as we can give you just to really focus on the task at hand. And I think they really have appreciated that. That's been really helpful. Next week in the afternoons, we'll really be drilling down into, more of the specifics around hybrid learning. We will be ready for, next week. We've done the fully remote learning so far, and we've made some good progress with Schoology. So as we look forward to next week, and we really are looking forward to next week, the conversations we've had with so many of our colleagues, we just, even albeit remotely, just seeing our students again is going to be a very powerful experience. So my message to our parent community and our student community, I sent out another welcome back letter today. It went out around 3 o'clock. So I would ask all students and parents to access that. It has details about the schedule for next week. Specifically, we'll have a 90-minute advisory period. All students will be sent a link from their advisors. Most of them will come through tomorrow. So all the students will need to do is check your email, look for the Zoom link, and access Zoom. And so in the advisory, we're going to talk about building connections between current advisors and the students they know, building new connections and the freshman advisories, which will be critical, the schoology training that is required to get the students onboarded and comfortable with the program, in addition to the letter that Fran has prepared. There'll be a principal's message and also a really nice segment that I did today with Student Body President Ben Kesselman. I like to say that publicly, just Ben and I talking about some ideas we have for the school year. And then a lot of PSAs, public service announcements that we've empowered our students to put together about building protocols, processes, procedures to get everybody in, to get them, used to what we have expectations in the building. And I want to commend those students. And then the schedule, of course, is included in the letter. I won't go further into that because parents can read that. So, once again, you can see the theme here. As a staff and as educators, career educators, we just can't wait to see the kids again. And the ones that have been in the building, it's been wonderful to see them. And we're looking forward to the school year. We're going to make it as outstanding as we possibly can for everybody, all of our students, and especially this Wilton High School senior graduating class of 2021. Go seniors.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Bob. And then the final update on this note, I did have a chance to stop in and visit the Genesis teachers today, and like the staff in the other buildings, they've been working very diligently and are ready to go and very excited to go, and looking forward to re-engaging with their students as well.
That's great. So, well, thanks to all the principals. You're steering very exciting, ships, and you're ready, and we can feel your excitement. So that's greatly appreciated. And if you can I'm sure you've communicated even more excitement directly to the parents and the kids. So we're, at least we as a board, at least one member here, feeling a lot better about next week. So thanks to everybody for that. I realize that we are definitely running very far behind our usual timeline. So is it okay, Kevin, are we ready to dive into athletics at least for an update, or is there something before that?
No, athletics is next, and I do have a brief but I think important update for folks, and this won't take a long time. So just to begin, Chris McDougall here, our athletic director, did submit our restart plans to Health Director Barry Bogle. Barry has made an initial review of Mr. McDougall's plans. He came back with a number of questions and areas for follow-up. So we're going to try to meet with Barry tomorrow too, and review those plans, make sure we understand his areas of question and concern, and get responses to him immediately. Our hope is that we can get Barry's approval so we can begin conditioning activities for all of our fall sports. The Department of Public Health does support the CIAC recommendation that athletes participate in conditioning activities that improve their aerobic conditioning, as well as sport-specific non-contact drills. And the flurry of plans and emails and letters that have gone back and forth between the CIAC and the DPH as they work to try to get on the same page about some of these things. But the DPH did further recommend that the athlete cohort size should be restricted to 10, and that the cohorting of athletes during conditioning and practices should continue throughout the entire season when practical. So Chris's plans align to that DPH guidance. They're also, the DPH is recommending that as much as possible, condition and practice activities take place outdoors. But if they have to take place indoors, then they need to be in compliance with the DECD sector rules for commercial gyms. So the kind of bottom line is for us here in Wilton, once we get the all clear from Barry Bogle after he's gone through our plans and Chris has made the modifications he needs, we're hoping to begin our preseason conditioning activities for all fall sports per the CIAC and DPH.
Kevin, quick question on this. I think we all agree how important fall sports are. In the email today, Barry had said, let's just hold off until September 8th to give you guys a week to respond. Is it possible that we could get that information to him sooner and he could, make that decision sooner instead of waiting until September 8th?
Yeah, absolutely, Mandy. So I made a couple calls and he just wasn't available this afternoon. So we're going to do our very best to work with him as quickly as possible so we can get our conditioning programs up and running as soon as possible. And hopefully, if we can get that done, it would be before September 8th.
Awesome.
Right. Yeah. And some of his questions, again, just what I heard and read very quickly, seem to go beyond the conditioning piece. So maybe if we can just focus on conditioning and get that up and running, and then let the other pieces come as they, as we need to address them.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. Just put the most urgent in front, just to get us started. Okay. The good news about sports is it did seem that the Connecticut Department of Health and SEAC at least agreed on the conditioning piece. So that's a foot forward.
Yeah, it is. And I think we just,
Or a step forward, sorry. Okay, Chris, is there anything we should know? Any more than that at this point?
No, we're just eager to get started. We have 523 kids ready to go out in the field, so.
Okay.
We're just looking forward to it. So I'm gonna work with Barry hopefully as early as tomorrow as possible and get these things ironed out.
All right. Right. And again, focusing on the conditioning piece, and then, the longer conversations about more complicated things can come a little bit later.
Yeah. Just to be clear, we are going to try and play football in the fall. Is that correct?
We're starting with conditioning activities for fall sports. That's what we're doing. And we're
all fall sports.
Conditioning activities. That's where the CIAC and the DPH line up right now.
Okay, and that's for all of the fall sports.
Fall sports,
including football. Okay.
Okay, but hearing all, the roller coaster that some sports are going through, it is still to some extent one step at a time. I don't want to create any false sense of anything because we're not there yet.
That's exactly right, Debbie. We are. That's why I'll just repeat. Conditioning activities is where right now the DPH and the CIAC line up.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda is there was a policy committee meeting updating and expanding some of our policies to include the COVID situation. And so Kevin and Gretchen and Ruth, if you could describe a little bit, even though I'm just going to preface this by saying these are possible action items. We are going to meet September 3rd, which is next Thursday. So we may begin the discussion tonight. We heard in public comment and we've received other emails. So again, there is no particular rush tonight to fine tune the wording and get it exactly right, but let's go through it sort of conceptually. And if there's some cleanup and addition and clarification, we can do it over, the next few days with another policy committee, and then we can vote on it as a board next week if we need to. Okay.
That's great. And if so, I'm going to share my screen again, and I'll walk the board through what we discussed at the committee and the changes that we are proposing to the 6141.321 student responsible use policy and regulation for use of district technology -C19. So this is a COVID-19 policy. So let's start with, okay, now let's see. All right, are you looking at the policy?
Yep.
Great. All right, success. So this is a policy that's been in existence for some time. And in red, what I've done here, we have really kind of two new sections. So I've taken a section in red here. These are expectations for students when video conferencing. And then we had a separate document called Guidelines for Blended Learning. So I took that document, and actually, because they speak to very similar concepts, I took that document and actually folded it into this regulation. So we'll start with just a kind of a review of expectations for students with video conferencing, and then have a discussion about the guidelines for participation in blended learning. And I think it's here that we want to just clarify per a lot of the emails I received today. I think some of our parents of younger students, I just need to help them understand, that we're not telling them they can't help their kids at home. So we'll start with this. These are just expectations for students when video conferencing. First and foremost, we expect students to respect the privacy of others. So we're not permitting students to record audio or video sessions. We are making the provision that teachers can provide recorded sessions. We're also prohibiting students from taking screenshots or other materials that they would share with others from their class. We're requiring students to abide by the online etiquette that they're learning through their digital citizenship courses. But in terms of video conferencing, behaviors like muting, taking turns, being respectful. Additionally, we're stipulating that, the conduct when they're video conferencing should be, if they're at home, should be the same as if they're in their physical classroom. And that would also require adhering to their responsible use. We want, as everybody should, students to be mindful of tone and expression, to take turns, to be open and understand that sometimes, as we've been discussing, technology can be glitchy. And so, we always need to help students have a backup plan, same with our staff. So to, try and show some flexibility. Just the online behavior, limiting side conversations, turning off and reducing background noises, at home, setting up an appropriate workstation and location to do schoolwork, wearing appropriate school-appropriate clothing, and then, ensuring that they're asking questions and, being proactive to get support that they need from the teacher so they can participate in the day's lessons. Headphones are going to be important, both at home and, in school as well. And then, again, I think, some of this we're speaking to, there may be moments in time, I think we should reasonably anticipate that, the teacher may lose connectivity or student may lose connectivity. And so they'll have to just respond and, be flexible, try to use the information and the materials in Schoology to continue the lesson, while they attempt to reconnect. Kind of moving on there, we're stating that we've adopted Zoom as our real-time. You all are obviously familiar with Zoom since you're on it. Zoom is integrated with Schoology. And so, we have those important connections. I think that covers it for the first piece there, just guidelines on, video conferencing. So, blended learning, this is obviously very similar. Video conferencing is a component of blended learning. So we define blended learning here in this part of the regulation. And then, some of this is a bit repetitious, but, we're prohibiting the, recording and photographing of video conferencing sessions. So I think this is the bullet point created some confusion today. And so I'm going to just speak about it, and I'll ask Fran to weigh in too if we need to have her to. But, this bullet reads that individuals in the home, other than the student, are not permitted to participate or to be visible on the video conference or otherwise observe the lesson. And this is the important part here. Other than the reasonable supervision of the student, okay, except as otherwise permitted by the BOE's policy and regulations regarding classroom visitation and observation. So, it sounds like a number of our parents of our youngest students.
Kevin, can you just do me a favor? At least on my screen, the most important phrase is covered up by, our faces. So can you just read that again?
Sure. So the caveat is this, right?
Yeah.
Than reasonable supervision of the student. And so, what we certainly understand and want to support parents who are at home with our youngest learners and need to support them as they are engaging in remote learning. what we're aiming to do here is to strike a balance between student privacy and a parent's and a student's need to have adult support at home. And so, but we're not prohibiting parents from supporting their students at home. Not at all. That's not the intention of this provision here. Fran, do you want to weigh in on that?
Sure. The way that this was written, and it's actually based on lots of the policies that are out there for blended learning and hybrid instruction, is to protect the privacy and confidentiality of other children in the classroom. So, of course, parents would be providing support, especially for our youngest learners, and would have to be there for supervision. But the ask is really one of maintaining confidentiality about other children in the classroom, just like you would in a physical classroom where you might visit and you might see something that needs to be confidential. We just ask that the same be done if being there in the classroom with students at home. Does that make sense?
Right.
So Fran, isn't this kind of like our photo taking policies, so that you can't take screenshots and you can't just walk into a classroom and start taking photos of other children and sharing?
Correct.
So wouldn't that be aligned with this?
It would be aligned with it. It's the whole idea of confidentiality, privacy, FERPA. And that, yeah, it's aligned with all of that.
Well, and also just usually you just can't walk into a classroom. You need a reason to be there. You need people to know why you're there, et cetera. So yeah, it's the classroom boundaries. You usually don't have parents come in and just be part of the entire class. So I think, trying to get that balance where parents are supporting kids and assisting them and focusing them, et cetera. And that's why, the sort of idea of differentiating maybe some description of language, by age makes some sense. But
Deb, I agree with that. I think we need to be really clear in the language. And I think that the adult supervision, just because now the classroom is also the home.
Exactly.
So typical times are different. So yes, you wouldn't walk into a classroom, but when the classroom's brought into your house, I just think we need to be very clear in that language. I like the language that you put there, Kevin, though. There needs to be no gray area, in my opinion.
Right. Well, I think we're, again, trying to, maintaining the balance, or trying to maintain the balance between, appropriate privacy concerns and enabling parents to support their kids so their kids can successfully engage in instruction while at home it's a key understanding for all of us.
Yeah.
And, I think that's, we'll continue to work with our staff, to work with parents as this all unfolds. And we'll, as questions come up, we'll respond to them and troubleshoot to help people gain as much clarity as possible. I think, the other piece that's important here. So in addition to the, blended learning expectations, part of the reason that, we made this significant transition to Schoology was indeed to provide our parents and families more classroom content information, with the understanding that it's likely in this environment, kids could be in person, they could be kind of in hybrid, and they could be at home. And so I think that was really in service to trying to strengthen that partnership between the parents, our guardians, and our teachers, and equip families with information through Schoology, so they really could more meaningfully support the learning of their children while at home. So just a couple of other pieces here, and this is just language that's embedded in the policy, embedded in the regulation rather, on blended learning. So, we are calling out that while student privacy and confidentiality of student information is of utmost importance, parents and guardians are reminded that the district is not in direct control of individual homes or the physical locations of students participating in video conferencing remotely. We're also delineating that in terms of remote participation, students participating remotely must be present and able to participate for the duration of the lesson. Parents and guardians are encouraged to have their students participate via a location that is quiet and free of distraction to the extent possible. we're asking all to be mindful of what's in view on the camera behind the participant and take care to choose a location with an appropriate background. And then again, just encouraging the use of a headset or headphones while participating in video conferencing, especially if they're in a room with other individuals. Right, and then the only other change, we had two other changes. We updated the provision of digital learning devices. It had been grades 3 to 8, it's K to 8 now. And in the opt-out, we had Google Suite, et cetera. We also included Schoology, and I'm really seriously hoping no parent opts out of using Schoology, because that is our primary delivery system here for educating in this environment. So I'll take some other questions if you have them.
Any comments? Ruth, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I also just wanted to, clarify a little bit with some of the emails and comments that we had coming in, that it's not teachers, their actual lesson, if the teacher is so inclined to videotape it and embed it into the Schoology platform, it will be there for the students to access and use as per the teacher, as when the teacher feels it's appropriate to provide that as a teaching tool or lesson. So I know that there were some questions about, sometimes with remote learning styles, especially, kids take in information in different ways, and the ability to replay things, that's not off the table. It'll just be at the teacher's discretion in terms of how it flows into the overall appropriateness of the lesson. And so I think that was something that I felt should be, just called out on that front. And that we were definitely just looking to find a balance between providing support for the younger kids and also, trying to recognize that, hybrid and remote learning this fall is different, will be different, markedly different from how it was in the spring. And we are trying to make, the classroom be a classroom, whether you're physically in the classroom or at home. And so all the things that come to be attendant when you're in a classroom, that's different from when you're just, when you're duplicating that environment in the home. Because I certainly have little ones at home, and I didn't read it as to take it that I couldn't, come and help them when they lost their link, or, were getting fidgety, or, didn't know what was going on. So we can certainly go back and revisit the language and make sure that it's more, that's clarified.
Other comments, questions? Okay, I think it's a big enough policy, of course, generated lots of interest, as it should. So why don't we let that language sort of hang out there for a week? And if there's another policy meeting that needs to happen, Gretchen or Ruth or Kevin, you guys can decide that piece of it. But, let's let the draft out there. Let's all, as board members, go through it with a fine-tooth comb and send you any suggestions or questions or whatever. So next week we would be ready to approve it.
Yeah, we will be meeting, because we have a number of other policies we have to put in place as we are bringing kids back to.
Right. I know we wanted to see a code of conduct and a mask policy if possible before, before too much time goes by.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And the other policy was there's a suspension and expulsion one.
So I'll share my screen again briefly. Hopefully you can all see this. So this is policy 5114, and we're proposing several changes to the policy. The first down here, item P, for purposes of this policy and regulation, references to school and classroom shall include physical educational environments as well as virtual educational environments, whether synchronous or asynchronous, which occur on internet-based platforms that allow students to engage in remote learning. So when it comes to schooling, we are expanding the definition of school and classroom. And then down here, in terms of the standards that govern suspension and expulsion, we've added two additional. One, acting in any manner that creates a health and or safety hazard for staff members, students, or the public, regardless of whether the conduct is intended as a joke, including but not limited to violating school district health and safety protocols developed in connection with the COVID-19 pandemic, such as but not limited to physical distancing and mask wearing requirements. So that's an important addition to this policy. And then the second addition, using computer systems, including email, distance learning platforms, instant messaging, text messaging, blogging, or the use of social networking websites or other forms of electronic communications to engage in any conduct prohibited by this policy or regulation.
Hey, Kevin, quick question. Is that for, if you go back up, right below that, it says off grounds. So does that happen for 25 under A25? Is that only on school grounds, or are now school grounds defined as?
I mean, well, this would be, you know, if a student is engaging in a classroom from home and engages in, you know, suspendable behavior, you know,
Got it.
provision now covers that.
And then can we also, do we all also add something that suspension could be requiring 2 weeks remote?
You know, I would leave that. I don't know that I would include that as a stipulation in the policy, but I certainly think we can make that understood. You know, I think working with the administrators, we always have discretion to apply appropriate consequences given the nature of the event and the context in which it happened.
Okay.
I certainly think, you know, that could be a tool available to us for sure.
Okay.
Right. And the last point I just wanted to highlight here, where did it go, is just a note. So this really, it's a change, a minor change to expulsion procedures. And, you know, the good news for us here in Wilton is we rarely ever have to use these. But just in terms of the protocol for proposed hearing, we're just including the provision that the hearing will be held virtually via video conference if we had to have one. Okay, let me stop that. Great. And so that's the primary change to that policy and regulation. And as we had been discussing a week ago, I circulated last night a new policy concerning the health and safety protocols related to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'd also passed it off to our attorney. She got it back to me today. So I have some edits and recommendations from the policy committee I've heard. So I'm going to combine those. I'll do that in the morning and send that to the policy committee. And that's a policy that I would expect that we would review at our next board meeting. And that includes, we had talked about a code of conduct. And so that includes conduct.
Okay, great. Okay, and again, important work. There's so many different arenas and levels and areas that this has, you know, caused us to address. Everything from hand sanitizers to policy language, you know, since 7 o'clock. Okay, that brings us to just review of some of the dates for the next meeting. We are going to add a special Board of Ed meeting on September 3rd. It will be by Zoom. I will be out of town, so I need it to be. So I appreciate your indulgence there. Okay, and then comments from the public. I know that there were some that we're waiting for the end of the meeting for. And anyway, Lucille, help us out. Am I right that there are some remaining public comments?
There are. The first comment is from Tad Bender. I wanted to express my thanks again for everyone's work on the planning and development of the new school year. I know a lot of this is uncharted territory for all parties. My wife and I spent a lot of time this summer debating whether to take our kids out of the Wilton public school system and into an alternative setting, school setting. We ultimately chose to stay with the school district based on the developed plans and our trust in the leadership school level, district level, and Board of Education. After last night's board meeting, I have to honestly say I'm starting to lose confidence in the leadership of the school district. Many issues were brought up on supply chain delays that were not mentioned days ago at the last board meeting on 8/20. I assume things like a need for more desks at Miller Driscoll may have been due to the unplanned surge in enrollment. Or why were there other items not ordered months ago? Maybe they were, but we did not hear any explanation other than there was a pipeline delay meeting last evening. I am also concerned that at one point during the meeting, it was stated how great and different the remote learning platform will be this fall. But then at another point, it was stated that the teachers aren't fully trained in how to use it. The system has failed at times already, and in the event of a setback during remote learning, teachers would just pivot back to Zoom and Google Classroom if needed. So which one is it? I attended a training session for Schoology on Monday evening, which left a lot to be desired. For example, the video and the presentation was not able to collect the sound. Why wasn't more training conducted over the summer months in preparation for the start of the school year? More importantly, I got the sense that last night's meeting was a pre-scripted, pre-voted plan of action. It seemed to be strategically planned to leave little time for the board to actually discuss their views publicly, and a vote was rushed to get the meeting done. Throughout the meeting, most concerns I heard spoken were were for the teachers. One board member even stated this was a vote for the teachers. Teachers are certainly a very important constituent in the school district, but little discussion was around the impact to the students and their families, which is very concerning. This is the second change in 1 week to our reopening plan. And what's not to say that in another week there is going to be another change? How are working families supposed to adjust on plan with so many other factors at play? While the noted recent events in town are concerning, I will say that Connecticut has done a very good job at flattening the curve of this pandemic. We still must continue to be vigilant and follow all necessary safety protocols, but we should not forget that the state data recommends full in-person opening. Consider California, which has announced a system of waivers for in-person school instruction in grade levels K through 6. The case rate is less than 200 per 100,000. Fairfield County is at 3.3 per 100,000, according to the Connecticut Department of Education. I have been trying to be flexible, as you have recommended, but I struggle to understand why we are looking at the whole district as if it is one school. Grades K through 5 should not be held hostage by the concerns of grades 6 through 12 or vice versa. Previously, you requested flexibility to have different plans for each school, which you received, but why wouldn't you use it? Is the teachers union threatening a lawsuit? Should parents come together under legal direction in order to be taken seriously and heard? I know this is challenging for all parties involved, but we all need to be flexible, not just students and their families. Everyone agrees children thrive best from in-person instruction. Hopefully that does not get lost on those making the decisions on behalf of these children. Thus, Charles Badbender on the Bittersweet Trail. The next comment is from Megan Garcia. My name is Megan Garcia, and I am a special education teacher at Miller Driscoll. I am also the parent of 4 children in the Wilton Public Schools, and myself a lifelong Wilton resident and product of the Wilton Public School system. I have children in all 4 schools and understand the struggle parents are facing with not only being inundated with multiple emails each day, but trying to figure out what the year will look like for our children. As a teacher, I am wholeheartedly disappointed with the Board of Education's lack of understanding in regards to teachers. I am not some entity that has been dropped into our schools to teach children. That is autonomous. Teachers have children, aging parents, health issues themselves, and lives outside of the classroom. We are a unique breed who struggle to balance our life demands with our love of teaching. When I accepted a job with the Wilton Public Schools after many years of teaching in Westchester County, I thought that since my children and I would be on the same schedule, things would be ideal. This is currently not the case. Teachers are now being told that, unlike the spring when our students are remote, we are expected to teach from the building. At the 11th hour, we, like all parents, are struggling to find childcare last minute. The information regarding childcare for teachers has been inconsistent and extremely confusing. As of right now, I have no plan for my 2 younger children next week. If I cannot come up with a plan, I will be forced to take days off of work. I am not alone in this situation. There are many teachers who will need to do the same. In a regular situation, finding subs is a challenge. Finding a sub who can work with children with intensive needs, even more of a challenge. There are no subs. I fear for what will happen with my students when I cannot attend school because I need to take care of my family. I'm imploring the Board of Education to please consider the teachers. Teachers will call out sick to take care of their families if things change at the 11th hour throughout the year. Please allow teachers to teach remotely from home when the school is following a fully remote model if their child care situation dictates. Thank you for your consideration, Megan Garcia. The next one is from Janelle Federico. Dear BOE and Kevin Smith, I'd like to begin by saying that you, the Board of Ed, as well as Kevin Smith and his staff are all doing a fantastic job in trying to navigate the opening of school during this trying time. I really appreciate the amount of work that goes into coming up with a plan that suits every family in Milton. It is not an easy task and not a job that I am envious of. That being said, I am wondering about the need for specials at this time. Going back to school is such a burden upon teachers, staff, and students that I believe while they are a fantastic added bonus during a regular school year, for most children right now, they are one more piece of straw on the camel's back, so to speak. The emphasis should be on the academic portions of schooling and not as much on art, music, family, fun, etc. Personally, that is the number one complaint I hear from middle schoolers and their parents. I know that we want our children to be well-rounded. I know that these programs are extremely special and we should celebrate the fact that we are lucky enough to have them. I believe that the time will come to add those back into the programs, but with most kids having a difficult time with remote learning, it might be best to focus on their finite capacity on the core subjects. Maybe by making the specials optional, those children would feel a little relief. I would never want to see those teachers lose their jobs because of all of this, but surely they can be put to other uses. In place of specials, kids can have another break or another tutorial, or perhaps the day can end a bit earlier. Please accept my remarks in the spirit that they were intended, not to criticize, but to highlight what I and many other parents feel is an added burden to our already overburdened kids and families. Finally, Janelle Federico. The next comment is from Mike McCormick, 43 Quail Ridge Road. That you are advocating that no parent can listen into remote classes is outrageous. This has been proposed and shut down in many districts across the country. The issue is not privacy. It is that the BOE and teachers don't want their parent to hear that they are once again teaching LGBTQIAP bingo and related concepts, nonsense, and other things that need to be untaught at home. The school district hides behind privacy for any question it does not want to answer. Principal Bob refuses to answer any actual questions related to physical campus security, data security, academic integrity, proctored versus unproctored exams, fairness, at home, no gym, in person, wasting precious in-person hours on gym, and why are we wasting 20% on the week with whatever you are dressing up as Wednesdays? The changes to the plans are one excuse after another, and they don't pass the sniff test. Technology, teachers can learn this in half a day. They had all summer. Signage, ha. The weather, ha. An all-time favorite. We are reacting to a minority of Wilton teachers that are scared and unprepared. And let's not get into the $441K for mask and 6-foot police. What a waste of resources. Mike McCormick, 43 Quail Ridge Road. Vanessa Elias, dear Board of Education and district staff, thank you for all your tremendous work for our community. I'm writing tonight to find out more detail regarding plans for mask breaks as well as outdoor breaks for kids in grades 6 through 12 at Middlebrook and WHS. Last week I was told that a 10-minute mask break at Middlebrook would be indoors, and I am very concerned about this. We have worked too hard as a community and know too much about aerosol transmission to do this. We must do everything in our power to maximize our children's learning and activities to the outdoors, especially when they are not wearing a mask. I know that we parents can rally around the needs of the school to help facilitate this. Thank you, Vanessa. And that's it.
You know, I can only understand about every third or fourth word of that. And maybe, I don't know if it's just me, but it was very difficult to understand the reading of those letters. Maybe everybody else got it. I don't know.
Yeah, there was static, Glenn. I think I could follow them. I wasn't having as much problem as you described. I'm sorry that you didn't say something earlier. I'm not sure it could have been corrected. But all these letters, you know, the good news about email is that they're all available. So we'll forward them to you. They're also part of public record for anyone who's listening that wanted to hear better. So we'll make them available to through our website, you know, under public comment. You know, we'll just put them there to make sure people can read them if they weren't able to hear them as well as they might have.
All right.
All right, so thank you. All right, we have finished the agenda. And we're meeting, we agreed next Thursday, September 3rd. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for everyone for attention and attendance and hard work and all of that. And good luck on Monday. So thank you.
Congrats, Jory.
Good night.